My boyfriend saw nude messages between me and his dad. Now he blames me for destroying his family. My name is Serena. I'm 29, and I'm the woman who walked into a family like a guest and left it like a fire. I met my boyfriend, Marcus, when I was 26. We were both at a friend's birthday dinner, one of those loud restaurants where the music is too high and everybody keeps leaning in like the conversation is a secret. I remember how he laughed, not loud, not forced, like his chest was open, like it didn't cost him anything to be happy. I was fresh out of a relationship that left me suspicious of kindness. The kind where someone tells you you're too sensitive until you stop trusting your own feelings. So when Marcus kept showing up, texting to check on me, remembering small things, walking me to my car like it mattered, I started believing again. Marcus wasn't flashy. He wasn't a smooth talker. He didn't do grand gestures for attention. He did the steady stuff. He'd notice I was low and show up with soup. He'd rub my feet without acting like it was a favor. He'd sit with me in silence without needing to fill it, and I fell in love with that steadiness. I fell in love with feeling chosen. He introduced me to his family early, like he wasn't scared of the future. Like he could see it and it looked good. His mom, Denise, was the type of woman who held her chin high even when she was tired. She wore perfume that stayed in a room after she left. She had a smile that looked polite but not warm, like it was something she did because she was supposed to. His dad, Calvin, was charming. That's the word I used back then, charming. He was the kind of man who looked you right in the eye when you spoke, even if the conversation was small. The kind of man who held doors and called you sweetheart, like it was harmless. The kind of man who made you feel seen. And I didn't realize seen can be a trap when you're starving for attention you don't even know you're starving for. Marcus and I dated a little over a year. We moved in together. Nothing fancy, just a modest apartment that smelled like laundry detergent and candles and the leftovers we kept pretending we'd eat. Marcus worked long hours. He was trying to climb. He wanted stability. He talked about a ring. He talked about kids one day. And I acted like I wanted the same thing. But I'm going to tell you the ugly truth. Sometimes I'd look at how good he was and feel a strange fear rise up in my throat. Like, if I really let myself settle into something safe, I'd have to face how much chaos I'd carried for years. Safety can feel like a mirror, and I wasn't sure I liked what I saw. Still, I loved him. I did. The first crack started with something small, a family barbecue. It was humid that day, the kind of heat that sticks to your skin. The backyard was full of laughter and smoke from the grill. Marcus was inside helping his mom bring out trays. His dad was outside by the cooler, handing out drinks like he owned the moment. I went inside to wash my hands, and when I came out, Calvin was standing near the doorway. He smiled at me like he'd been waiting. "You okay, Serena?" he asked. "You look quiet." I remember shrugging. "I'm fine, just tired." He stepped closer, not too close, but close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something deep and expensive. "Marcus works a lot," he said softly. "I know that look." I laughed, but it didn't feel funny. "It's not his fault." "Didn't say it was," he replied. "But you deserve to feel appreciated." That sentence slid into me like warmth, like permission, and I hated myself for liking it. After that, it was little moments. Calvin would send Marcus home with food and call me to make sure I liked it. He'd comment on a picture Marcus posted of us, something innocent like beautiful couple. He'd ask about my job. He'd remember my favorite drink. Denise noticed him noticing me. I could see it sometimes, her eyes narrowing, her mouth tightening like she was swallowing something sharp. But Denise didn't confront me at first. She just watched. And I kept telling myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. Then came the day the messages started. It wasn't even supposed to happen. I swear that's how it felt. Like a door opening in a hallway I didn't know existed. Marcus had been stressed for weeks, snapping over small things, then apologizing, then going right back into his phone and his deadlines. I'd sit on the couch, listening to the rain hit the window, scrolling through my own phone, feeling invisible in my own home. One night, Marcus fell asleep on the couch with the TV on low. The room was dark except for that bluish light flickering across his face. I went to bed alone. I lay there staring at the ceiling, hearing my own breathing, feeling that old emptiness crawl up my spine. My phone buzzed. A message request. From Calvin. At first it was normal. "Hey, Serena. Just checking in. Marcus said things have been stressful." I stared at it too long, like the words were glowing. I should have ignored it. I should have shown Marcus. I should have put my phone down and gone to sleep. But I replied, "Yeah, it's been a lot. I'm okay though." Calvin answered fast. Too fast. "You don't have to always be okay, that was it. That was the hook. Because I didn't know how to say I feel lonely without feeling weak. I didn't know how to say I miss being wanted without feeling selfish. So I said it to the wrong person. It became a late night thing. Marcus asleep, me awake. Rain tapping the glass like it was counting down. Calvin on the other end of my phone, typing like he had all the time in the world. At first it was emotional. He'd say things like, "I can tell when you're hurting." He'd ask about my childhood. He'd ask what made me feel loved. I ate it up like I hadn't eaten in years. And then he crossed the line. Not all at once, not with some dramatic sentence. It was a compliment that landed too heavy. "You're beautiful, Serena." "Marcus is lucky." Then it was, "If I was your age, I would have treated you right." Then it was, "You ever wonder what it would feel like to be with a man who pays attention?" I remember sitting in bed, phone in my hand, heart pounding, feeling disgust and excitement at the same time. I typed stop, but I didn't mean stop forever. I meant stop so I could breathe. And Calvin didn't stop. He just got smoother. He started telling me Denise didn't appreciate him, that their marriage had been cold for years, that he felt trapped, that he stayed for the family. And I know how this sounds. I know it sounds like every cliché, like every excuse. But when you're in it, when the phone light is on your face at 1:17 a.m. and someone is telling you you matter, logic gets quiet. The first nude message happened after a fight with Marcus. It was stupid. Something about money. Something about him always being tired. I said I felt alone and he rolled his eyes like I was making it up. He didn't mean to be cruel, but he was. And it hit me in that old wound I pretend isn't there. He fell asleep without fixing it, without apologizing. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, sat on the edge of the tub, and opened my phone like it was oxygen. Calvin was already there. "You up?" I wrote, "Yeah." He wrote, "He doesn't know how good he has it." And something in me snapped. Not like a loud break, like a quiet surrender. I sent something I can't take back. Not graphic, not porn, but enough. A picture I shouldn't have sent to anyone, especially not him. My hands shook after, like my body was warning me. Calvin replied with words that made my stomach drop and my skin heat up at the same time. The kind of words that sound romantic when you want to be wanted and disgusting when you remember reality. And that's how it spiraled. It wasn't just one message. It became a pattern. He'd send something, I'd send something. He'd push, I'd pretend I wasn't being pushed. I'd say we shouldn't, and he'd say I know, and we'd keep going anyway. And the worst part? I started telling myself it wasn't fully my fault. Because he was older. He was the dad. He was the married one. He should have been the boundary. But I still climbed over it. I didn't sleep right during that time. I'd lie next to Marcus, his back turned, and my phone would feel like it was burning through the sheets. I'd take showers that were too hot just to feel something clean. I'd look at Denise at family dinners and feel shame rise up my throat like acid. And Denise started changing toward me. She used to be distant but polite. Then she became sharp. If I wore a dress, she'd comment that it was a little much. If I laughed too loud, she'd say, "You like attention, don't you?" If Marcus left the room, she'd suddenly appear beside me like a shadow. One evening, Marcus and I stopped by their house to pick up something he'd left there. Marcus went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen, pretending to scroll my phone, trying not to breathe too loudly. Denise walked in and set down a glass hard on the counter. "Let me ask you something," she said, not smiling. I looked up. "What?" Her eyes raked over me like she was measuring me. "Do you respect yourself?" My mouth went dry. "Excuse me?" She stepped closer. "Because I've been around long enough to know when a woman is playing games." My heart hammered. "I'm not playing any games." Denise's lips tightened. "Good. Because I'd hate for something to happen. The way she said it wasn't a threat you could report. It was worse. It was the kind of warning that says, I see you. I just haven't said it out loud yet." I left that night with my legs shaky, and instead of stopping, instead of confessing, instead of running, I went home and messaged Calvin. Because I was already in too deep, and part of me wanted to prove I was still in control. Calvin kept pushing. Not for a relationship. He never promised me anything real. Just for access, for secrecy, for the rush of it. He'd say, You're the only one who makes me feel alive, then disappear for hours, then come back like nothing happened. I started hating him and craving him in the same breath, and I hated myself more. The discovery didn't happen in some dramatic movie way. It happened in a quiet room. On a Tuesday. With the sound of the refrigerator humming in the background like it didn't care what was about to break. Marcus had asked to use my phone because his was dead. I handed it over without thinking because I'd gotten careless. I'd started deleting messages but not fast enough. I'd started believing I could manage the lie. He sat on the couch, phone in hand, plugged into the charger, scrolling for something. Maybe a picture, maybe an email, I don't even remember. I was in the kitchen rinsing a plate when I heard it. Not a scream, not a shout. A small sound, like the air got punched out of him. I turned around. Marcus was staring at my phone like it was venom. His face wasn't red, it was pale. His mouth opened, but no words came out at first. His eyes had this glassy look, like his brain was trying to understand what it was seeing but couldn't. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up on the spot. "Marcus?" I whispered. He looked up slowly, and the pain in his eyes was so sharp it felt like it cut straight through me. "What is this?" he asked. His voice sounded far away, like he was underwater. I walked toward him like my legs weren't mine. "Let me see." He held the phone up, and there it was. A thread of messages. My words. Calvin's words. The pictures blurred in my mind like my brain was protecting me from my own choices. Marcus stared at me. "My dad?" It came out like a question and a death sentence at the same time. I tried to speak. Nothing came out but a shaky breath. Marcus stood up so fast the couch cushion bounced back. His hands were trembling. "Tell me I'm reading this wrong," he said, voice rising. "Tell me this is some joke, some spam, something." I couldn't. I just stood there, throat tight, tears already flooding my eyes like my body knew before my mouth could admit it. Marcus's voice cracked. You sent my dad." He couldn't finish. He looked away like he couldn't even look at me and still breathe. I reached out, and he flinched like my touch burned. "Don't," he said. That one word was cold. Final. I started crying, real crying, the kind where your face twists and you can't control the noise. "Marcus, I'm sorry." He spun around. "Sorry?" His voice snapped. "You're sorry?" He laughed once, but it sounded broken. "You were in my family. You sat at my mother's table. You looked me in the face. You kissed me goodnight and then..." He slammed the phone down on the table so hard it rattled. "How long?" I shook my head, sobbing. "I don't know. Months." His eyes filled with tears he looked furious about. "Months." He backed away like he needed distance just to survive. "You destroyed my family," I whispered. "He's your father. He was wrong too." Marcus's face twisted like I'd slapped him. "Don't you dare," he said. "Don't you dare put this on him like you were some little girl who got tricked." I flinched because he wasn't fully wrong. I wasn't a child. I wasn't powerless. But Calvin wasn't innocent either. Marcus grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. I ran after him, barefoot, crying. "Marcus, please, please, don't go like this." He turned at the doorway, eyes wild. "I can't even look at you," he said. "Do you understand what you did? Do you understand what you took from me?" I begged. "Let's talk. Please." He opened the door. "There's nothing to talk about." And then he left. The door clicked shut. And the silence after, it was so loud it felt like a scream. I slid down the wall to the floor and cried until my throat hurt. My phone lay on the table like a corpse. Rain started outside like the sky had been waiting for permission. I tried calling him. Straight to voicemail. I texted him. No reply. Then I did the thing I should have done months ago. I messaged Calvin, he knows. Calvin replied, "What?" I wrote, "Marcus saw everything." And Calvin didn't say I'm sorry. He didn't say this is my fault too. He didn't say I'll fix it. He said delete the messages. That was the moment my last excuse cracked. Because that's when I realized what I was to him. Not love. Not even real lust. Just a mess he wanted to hide. Within an hour the whole family was on fire. Marcus didn't come home that night. He went to his parents' house. And Denise found out. I didn't hear it directly, but I felt it coming like thunder. The next day, my phone started ringing from numbers I didn't recognize. Then it was Marcus's sister texting me things I can't repeat. Then it was a voicemail from Denise that made my blood run cold. "Stay away from my family," she said, voice shaking with rage. "If I see you near my house, I swear..." She didn't finish the sentence. but I heard it. That afternoon I drove to Marcus's parents' house like an idiot, like a desperate woman chasing a door that had already locked. It was raining, the kind of rain that makes everything look gray and guilty. I parked across the street, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my fingers ached. I kept telling myself, I just need to explain. I just need him to hear me. I walked up to the door, and before I could knock, it flew open. Denise stood there like a storm. Her hair was slightly messy, like she'd been pacing. Her eyes were red. Her jaw was clenched so hard it looked painful. Behind her, I saw Marcus, standing in the hallway, face blank, like he'd already cried all his tears out. "Get off my porch," Denise hissed. I held my hands up like that would make me harmless. "Denise, please, I'm so sorry, I just need to talk to Marcus." Denise stepped forward fast. And I swear to you, for a second I thought she was going to actually hit me. She got right in my face. I could smell her perfume mixed with anger. "Talk?" she spat. "You want to talk?" Her voice broke. "You sent pictures to my husband." I flinched like the words physically slapped me. Denise shoved me, not hard enough to knock me down, but hard enough to make her point. I stumbled back. "I didn't mean—" "Oh, you didn't mean!" Denise screamed, and her voice echoed down the street. "You didn't mean to crawl into my house and open your legs in my marriage?" Marcus's eyes tightened. He looked away like he couldn't stand hearing it. I started sobbing again. "Marcus, please!" Denise lunged again, and this time Marcus stepped forward and grabbed her arm. "Mom," he said quietly, strained. "Stop." Denise yanked her arm back. "Stop," she cried. "She ruined us." Marcus's face twisted. I know. That I know shattered me more than any yelling could. Because it wasn't even anger anymore. It was grief. He walked toward the door, stopping just behind Denise like he didn't want to get too close to me. His voice was low, shaking. "You need to leave," I whispered. "Marcus, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But your dad, Marcus's eyes flashed. "Don't talk about him. Don't talk about my father." I cried. "He pursued me too." Marcus looked like he was fighting not to scream. "And you let him," he said. "You let him." Denise pointed at me like she wanted the whole world to know my name. "If I see you again, I'll drag you by your hair," she hissed. Marcus didn't correct her. He just stared at me like I was someone he used to know. Then he closed the door. Right in my face. That was the first time Denise tried to fight me. But it wasn't the last, because after that, my life turned into chaos. Like one of those over-the-top dramas where every episode ends with somebody crying in the rain and somebody else slamming a door. Marcus blocked me, on everything. Calls, texts, socials. Like I was poison he couldn't risk swallowing again. I'd stare at my phone at night, the screen lighting up my face, thumb hovering over apps like if I pressed hard enough I could undo everything. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up gasping like I'd been running. I went to work and smiled like my life wasn't collapsing. Then I'd sit in my car afterward and cry until my eyes burned. And Calvin? Calvin went silent. No calls, no apologies, nothing. I started realizing he was hiding behind his marriage the same way I was hiding behind my tears, trying to escape consequences. Then one day I saw him, in public, at a grocery store, of all places. I was standing in the aisle staring at cereal boxes like my brain had turned to static, when I saw him at the end of the row. Calvin. He froze when he saw me. For a second we just stared at each other, fluorescent lights buzzing above us like a bad dream. I walked toward him, heart pounding, anger rising under my shame like a second heartbeat. "You just disappeared," I said, voice shaking. "You said nothing." Calvin's eyes darted around like he didn't want anyone to hear. "This isn't the place." "Of course it's not," I snapped. "Because you only liked me when it was quiet and hidden, right?" His face tightened. "Lower your voice." I laughed bitterly. "Lower my voice? My whole life is on fire and you're worried about your voice?" He leaned closer, teeth clenched. "You shouldn't have come to the house." I stared at him. "You're blaming me?" Calvin's eyes hardened. "You knew I was married." My whole body went cold. That sentence was the twist in the knife. Because yes, I knew. And yes, I'm responsible. But the way he said it, like he was an innocent man I seduced, made me see red. "You knew I was your son's girlfriend," I whispered, shaking. "You watched me sit next to him. You let him bring me around you. You knew exactly what you were doing." Calvin swallowed hard, and for a second, I saw fear. Then he did what men like him do when they're cornered. He changed the story. You wanted attention, he said quietly. Marcus wasn't giving it. I did. That's all. I felt my stomach twist. So you used me? Calvin shrugged, barely. You used me too. I stared at him, and the truth landed in my chest like a stone. We weren't lovers. We were two selfish people feeding our emptiness with something forbidden. And Marcus was the one paying for it. Denise came after me again a week later. I was leaving work, walking to my car, when I heard a car horn blare. I turned. Denise's car. She pulled up fast, stopped too close, and jumped out like she'd been waiting. My heart shot into my throat. I froze. Denise marched toward me, eyes blazing. You think you can just walk around like nothing happened? She spat. I backed up. Denise, please. She got right in my face. My son can't sleep, she said, voice shaking. He looks like a ghost. Tears filled her eyes, and for a second I saw not just anger, hurt. Then the anger came back full force. Denise shoved my shoulder. Say something. I swallowed. I'm sorry. Denise laughed, but it sounded like crying. Sorry doesn't fix a family. People were watching. A coworker across the lot, a man loading groceries. Everyone pretending not to stare, but staring anyway. I said Calvin is responsible too. Denise's face changed instantly, like I'd poured gasoline on her. Don't say his name, she hissed. Don't you dare put my husband in your mouth. I whispered. He did this too. Denise raised her hand like she was going to slap me. I flinched, eyes shut, body bracing. But she didn't hit me. Instead, she leaned in close and whispered something that still haunts me. You're going to pay for this, she said softly. Maybe not today, but you will. Then she got back in her car and drove off like she hadn't just tried to turn my parking lot into a battlefield. That night, I sat on my bed with the lights off, phone screen glowing, rain against the window, and I realized my life had become a mess I couldn't outrun. I felt guilt like a weight. I felt fear like a shadow. I felt anger that Calvin got to stay in his house while I became the villain in everyone's story. Marcus's family stopped speaking to each other. Marcus told me later, through a mutual friend, not even from his own mouth, that he'd gone to his father's house screaming, demanding answers. Calvin denied it at first. Denied it. Like the messages weren't right there. Like Marcus wasn't holding proof in his shaking hands. Then Calvin admitted it but tried to paint it like some mistake, some weak moment. Like he hadn't been messaging me for months. Denise kicked him out for a few days. Then she let him back in. And that was when I realized something even uglier. Denise wasn't just mad at him. She was more mad at me. Because it's easier to hate the outsider than to face the betrayal under your own roof. Marcus moved out of their house after that. He couldn't stand being around them. He started staying with a friend. He looked like someone who'd lost his whole identity overnight. And he blamed me. Not only me, but mostly me. Because I was the one he chose. I tried to send him one last message from an email he didn't have blocked. I wrote it at 2:43 a.m. with my hands shaking, tears dropping onto the keyboard. I'm sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix it. I know I hurt you in a way that changes you. But I need you to know the truth. Your father pursued me too. I'm not saying that to erase my guilt. I'm saying it because you deserve to see the whole monster, not just one part of it. I loved you, and I broke you. I'm sorry. He never replied. Weeks passed. Then months. My life kept moving, but it felt fake, like I was watching myself from outside my body. Work, home, silence. Sleep that wasn't real sleep. Food that tasted like nothing. I'd check my phone like it might magically show unblocked. It never did. Eventually, I heard through another mutual friend that Marcus had cut his father off completely. That he told Denise he couldn't pretend anymore. That he couldn't sit at the same table with the man who stole his trust. Denise blamed me for that too. I heard she told people, that girl poisoned my son against his own father. And I wanted to scream, no, his father did that. But my scream wouldn't change anything. One night, months after it all exploded, I got a message from Calvin. Just one line. You should have kept your mouth shut. I stared at the screen so long my eyes hurt. That message did something to me. Because it told me everything. It told me he still didn't feel responsible. It told me he still saw me as the problem, the mess, the loose end. And in that moment, my regret shifted shape. I regretted hurting Marcus more than I can put into words. But I also regretted letting Calvin rewrite the story like I was some temptress who destroyed a good man. No, he wasn't a good man. He was a coward who used his position like a weapon. I never replied to Calvin. Instead, I saved the message. And that's where the twist comes in, the part that makes my stomach turn when I think about it. Because a week later, I found out something I didn't know before. Denise already suspected. Not just a little suspicion. She had been checking Calvin's phone for years. She'd accused him before of flirting, of texting, of being too friendly. Calvin always denied it. And Denise stayed, for the image, for the family, for the fear of being alone. So when my scandal happened, it wasn't just betrayal, it was confirmation. I wasn't the first crack in their marriage. I was the loudest one. I was the one that finally made it visible. And the lesson that hit me like a brick was this. Some families aren't as solid as they look. Some homes are already burning behind the walls. And when you walk in with your own fire, you don't start the blaze, but you sure make it impossible to ignore. That doesn't excuse me. It doesn't cleanse me. It just tells the truth. Marcus still thinks I destroyed his family. And maybe from his perspective I did. Because I was the betrayal he could name. The face he could hate. The person he once loved who turned into a stranger. But when I'm alone at night, rain hitting the window, phone light on my face, silence so heavy I can feel it in my chest, I admit the full truth. I regret it. I regret the pictures, the messages, the choices, the way I became the kind of woman I used to judge. I regret the way Marcus's eyes looked when he found out, like his whole world tilted. I regret being the reason he can't trust love the same way again. But I don't regret it alone, because his father knew better. His father was supposed to protect him, not compete with him. And if there's one haunting truth I learned from this, one truth that sits in my throat like a stone, it's this. The worst betrayals aren't always from strangers. Sometimes they come from the people who raised you, and the person you love the most becomes the person paying the price. And I'll live with that. Every time it rains, every time my phone lights up, every time silence feels like a punishment. Because some mistakes don't end when the messages stop. Some mistakes become the soundtrack of your life. And mine still plays in the quiet.